Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, he's Brett, I'm Matt. So we're going to go over a little bit of week 4 and what happened, and maybe look on to some of week 5 and what has us excited for that. But to start things off, we're going to do a new little section called Studs and Duds. So which undefeated teams are we buying? Or maybe surprised us, not so much buying, I guess, but surprised us that they are where they are at, and which teams were surprised are doing so bad. So with that said, we'll start with the teams that are surprising us. I gotta say, I think for me, I really like the Falcons, so I'm not gonna say that they surprised me. I picked them to win the division, so it's not really counting as being a surprise.
Though I think 4-0 and the way they've been doing it, scoring as many points as they have, is still kind of surprising. Even though they do have a lot of good offensive players, but I don't remember their schedule, but 4-0 for them, even if I did think they'd win the division, I think it's still surprising. But they're not my surprise team, so yeah, continue on.
I gotta say, for me, I'm actually, and I probably shouldn't be surprised, I probably had them underrated just because he doesn't play very well in the playoffs so far, but I really think the Bengals are a good team. And I probably should have given them a little more credit than I did at the beginning of the year. Like, for all the, no one wants to talk about how good Andy Dalton's playing, but he's obviously playing at a high level. He got a big contract in Cincy, and I felt like there was a lot of pressure on him, and sometimes when you throw on that kind of pressure, obviously sometimes the player can fold, but obviously Dalton's playing at a really high level, and the Bengals, they just, I'm very surprised by them.
Yeah, and it's working out great for them too, because in that division, obviously you've got, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland. Cleveland's Cleveland. They're probably not going to really contend, but Pittsburgh's been bit with, for the first part is injuries and/or suspensions. And they're only 2-2, and then Baltimore has been pretty, not great at all, honestly, and they're only 1-3. So at 4-0, it's almost seeming like Cincinnati could very easily almost run away with this division really early in the season. But for me, I'm surprised, honestly, at Carolina being 4-0. I don't know. I don't remember what their schedule is. Let's look at that real quick to see who they've played and who they've beaten.
They haven't played. I mean, they're obviously 4-0. Can't take that away from them. Their schedule so far compared to the other teams that are 4-0
very easy though.
Yeah.
Okay. They got Houston, Jacksonville, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. So I guess that hasn't been a very difficult schedule. But to be fair, I also didn't think they would be a very great team. I know they won the division, but I didn't know who was going to be blocking for Cam and how they were going to score points with Kelvin Benjamin going down with injury. So for them, I think to be at 4-0 at this point, at least, keeping up with Atlanta, obviously when those teams play, that's probably going to be a couple deciding factors for that division, given who else is in there. But for who so far this season do you have as a dud?
A dud. Well, unfortunately, this is probably a little off radar. And maybe I'm throwing in the towel a little bit earlier. And they did just win, I guess. But I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed by them. I guess they are getting someone back. Obviously, the big dud, you could say, is Miami. Obviously, everyone thought we have a franchise quarterback who is trending up. We signed Ndamukong Suh. We have a really good defense already. We add Suh to the mix. We should be good. I just feel like everything for the Dolphins was trending up. They obviously have stunk it up. They fired Joe Philbin. I don't know. Miami's, to me, is a huge disappointment because they should have, I felt like, been the number 2 team in that division. They aren't. But the team I was going to go with when I was going to say dud was going to be – I've been disappointed with the Chargers a little bit. I just don't think they're as good as what I thought. And I pretty sure I predicted them to do good in the division. They don't have the offensive line and they don't have the defense, I feel like, to really contend. So for me, they're a dud.
Yeah, and you mentioned it too. You said, well, you guessed they got the win this last week, but they very easily could have lost, obviously, with Jamal Williams, I think, jumped off sides on a missed field goal that would have won it, giving them the opportunity to try again, and they made the game winner on the last play of the game. So, yeah, I'm actually was thinking of the Chargers because for some reason in my head I thought they'd only won one game to this point. That's how low I've been thinking of them. So they're there. The Dolphins you mentioned. Have like the worst offense in the AFC. Like Jackson. Oh, the only team that scored less is Jacksonville. In the whole conference. Track like all of the NFL. Holy shit! Yeah, other than San Francisco. So they have the third worst offense. Their defense is underperformed. For me though, and I guess you could kind of see it given all the shit that was happening with the offseason and some of the things about coach, but I think Philadelphia being 1-3 for me
That's a great call.
has been a big dud. I think we both projected that. Well, did you project them? I don't remember if we had them in the top two.
I had Philly winning the division.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think I had them at 2 or something like that behind Dallas. So that's been a
Cowboys, and long and behold, looks like the Giants might have an opportunity to run away. But anyways, yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Philadelphia on that. Are there any teams currently that are performing poorly that you think they'll have a chance to turn it around?
Performing poorly that have a chance to turn it around.
No, I just kind of threw that in there. We didn't really talk about that as a topic, but
I wouldn't say that the Colts are playing their best football right now. If they can get Andrew Luck healthy, maybe they can get on a roll. Maybe they can find a little bit of the swagger they had last year. But I'm just trying to think of teams off the top of my head that I feel like are still winning games but are struggling. Another team, maybe the Steelers. I feel like they probably should have beat Baltimore last week. I mean, I feel like they're right there.
I'd say a team for me, and it's surprising to me given how many points they've allowed. This team has given up the most in the NFL, tied with Chicago. It's Kansas City.
Oof.
They're only 1-3 in that division. I mean, they're right currently behind Oakland and San Diego, who just mentioned as like being kind of a dud underperforming team. But you look at Kansas City, they got great ends, or actually outside linebackers. They should be getting a ton of pressure. They signed Macklin, trying to give them some offensive explosiveness. Still Jamal Charles and Alex Smith, but they're just not putting it together. They've allowed, like I said, the most points in the NFL, and for me, that's a pretty big surprise. But if they can get that defense, working, they're actually scoring an okay number of points. It's just they're just giving up a ton as well. Obviously, giving up 40 whatever to Green Bay or whatever it was doesn't help your numbers. But overall, you still got to be pretty disappointed in how they've been playing.
Yeah, that's fair. So I guess moving on. So I mean, from week 4, what games kind of struck a nerve with you or caught your attention?
Well, I think obviously the first game of the week is a game that you got to talk about with Ravens and Steelers. Steelers have a chance to try to only remain a game behind Cincinnati in that, but their kicker goes out and blows like mound every field goal attempt that he had. Lost his job and lost the game because of it. Obviously with the Ravens then winning in overtime because Justin Tucker is a legit NFL kicker who can make his field goals. And it's obviously important too because you got to see what that offense and everything was going to be like for a full game without Ben Roethlisberger. And it was a lot different. I felt like there wasn't as many explosive plays. Didn't really do a whole lot with Mike. I know they had to drop touchdown, which I think Michael Irvin said is because, the ball spins the other way. I don't give a damn. If you're an NFL receiver, catch the ball.
I mean, I watched a good portion of that game. Vic I thought it was a good pass. Antonio Brown had to dive for the ball. but it wasn't like a full out dive. It was like he was going to the ground because he was going to catch it. It wasn't like he full out like had to reach for it. Like he was going down to the ground to catch it. And he just didn't pull it in. And I get like it wasn't, obviously the easiest pass, but one for a receiver of his caliber, like he probably made the catch. And you're only going to get a few handfuls of those opportunities. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At times Vic looked all right, and then there were times where, like the fourth down play, when he slings it over the guy's head, I was just like,
yeah, they definitely, I think, missed out. And the offense in general, it just looked, a lot different. There's I felt like, from what I could remember, a lot more dinking and dunking, a lot more short stuff over into the flats and everything, and they didn't really have any downfield threats at all, and that obviously made it a lot harder for them to run the ball as well.
mm-hmm.
What about you? You got a game on mind?
Yeah, actually the Bears got their first win against the Oakland Raiders. Of course, it would figure it's the first time in 27 games the Oakland Raiders are favored to beat someone and they lose. just throwing it out there that definitely happened. No, but I mean, I
gotta say,
tough. The thing I'll say is, if you're a Raiders fan, I know they lost to the Bears, but I don't get to watch a whole lot of Raiders football. But from what I saw, I really liked. I mean, I really think Derek Carr has a chance to be. I think when Peyton Manning retires, I think Derek Carr's gonna have a chance to be the best quarterback in that division. I was pretty impressed. I thought he looked legit.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of obviously Carr as well. I'm gonna say though, obviously give props to Jay Cutler. Everyone always calls out his toughness, especially after he left that playoff game a few years ago. But I mean, he came back from this injury a lot earlier than people projected, and I think had he not played, I don't think with Jimmy Clausen they would have had a shot at winning this game. Probably not a chance. So props to him on coming out and had some pretty impressive throws there, as well as catches. The receiver made some great catches, I think, on I think it was the final drive to set up the game-winning score. But props to Jay, a guy that's been on the league. Not a great actor, but that's fine. Pretty decent quarterback still. I've made fun of him, but I give him props for being tougher than what I think a lot of people give him credit for. So another game that I think was interesting for us is obviously the Rams and the Cardinals. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, the Rams pull off the upset, right? I mean, the Cardinals seemed like they were rolling. They were just rolling over teams. And the Rams, the running back, Gurley, actually had a good day. I think I read a stat where he rushed for like over 140 yards, but he got a big portion of those yards in the fourth quarter, which is essentially, a big reason why he was brought in was because, I mean, as long as you keep control of the ball, you eat the clock away, you're going to have an opportunity. And with the way their defense is, and if they can get that running game going, I mean, I think they'll have an opportunity. And I'll talk about it a little bit later. But I think the Rams do have a legit opportunity to really challenge the Packers this week.
I think they do, especially because of their front. Their front four. And their offensive line, though, at Green Bay's defense, I know we'll get into this. Never mind. I'm not going to get that far into it. I think what's weird, though, about the Rams, St. Louis, is that they've beaten Seattle and they've beaten Arizona. But then they went ahead and lost to a Pitt team and lost to Washington. And that Pitt team obviously was playing some of that game without Roethlisberger. So it's like, okay, two teams that I think a lot of people expect to be good. Sure, if they go up and beat, and then two games where they probably should have won because they played worse teams, they lost. And I don't know what I'm supposed to think of the Rams at that point. Obviously, like you said, they didn't have Gurley, who looked really, really good, gaining as many yards as he did. Though he did get a lot of those yards even before contact. Surprisingly, some big holes he found with some pretty good vision and made some good cuts. Where he wasn't even touched for a lot of yards. So that's good on him. And obviously, if you're the Cardinals, you got to kind of wonder a little bit what happened to what seemed like a fairly explosive offense for a lot of those games, scoring 47 on San Francisco, 48 on Chicago. and then only coming out and scoring about half that against the Rams. So, but I think honestly, that division still is very tough, with the exception of San Francisco, who has maybe the worst, most dysfunctional offense in football. But with Seattle, their defense, I think, is honestly still playing pretty good, especially now that Cam Chancellor's back. It's a pretty tough division, and that game meant a lot for the Rams being able to at least keep themselves in the race early on.
Well, the Rams are undefeated in the division so far. I mean,
so they got the lead if it comes down to a tie at this point. Me, obviously, Colts Jaguars, being in Colts country. Yeah, ended up getting a win. But it's the Jaguars. I know, and Hasselbeck played, right? So can't really expect them to score a bunch of points with like a 68-year-old quarterback. But even still, I mean, for it to be that close with Jacksonville, I guess just thank God that your defense is playing well, which for me is honestly a surprise how many points to this time in the season that the Colts have given up isn't like the worst in the division. Isn't even close to the worst, honestly. So, but they got to figure that offense out, man. 72 points, through 4 games is not good for a team that many thought would be very explosive.
That's true. Yeah, and I guess the last game to go over was obviously Seattle and Detroit Lions. Poor Detroit.
On their way to 0-16? No.
Probably not 0-16. Yeah, that was I mean, obviously the play at the end of the game, pretty big call. Honestly, I know what the NFL said. I just think the refs. I didn't know the rule. I just think the refs I just don't think they knew until after, like, everything was said and done. They're like, oh shit, that's a rule.
And it's a pretty dumb rule. He was all by himself. If he really wanted, you probably could have just grabbed it and fell down.
Yeah, why did he just grab it and fall down?
I really don't know. But, I mean, could you imagine if they had called that? Everyone would be like, wait, you can't just push the ball out of the back of the end zone when you're all by yourself? Because realistically, he could have grabbed it and then threw it that way anyway. And that's a backwards lateral, but who cares? It's a fumble out of the back. It's still a touchback. So, I don't know. It seems kind of silly. I'd understand if you were to, like, try to advance it down the field and push it down the field. That's one thing. But going backwards.
The thing I don't understand, so maybe you can help explain this. I sure don't get it. So they said that the play couldn't be reviewed because it wasn't a turnover, right? Or I don't know if you saw it, but that's what they said. Was that and it couldn't be reviewed because it wasn't a turnover. The thing I don't get though is why can't it be reviewed because it was a fumble, right? It got punched out of Calvin Johnson's arms. It's a fumble. It's a turnover.
Well, it's only a turnover if the other team recovers it, right? Otherwise, there's no turnover.
I mean, they got possession of the ball, didn't they?
Well, they did, but I don't know. That is kind of weird, and I know it can't be reviewed either because it's like a judgment call or whatever. Right, yeah, and so, like, one person might look at it and say, "Yep, that's a call," and another person might look at it and say, "No, it's not." So I know they can't review it for that reason, it being a judgment call, which. I mean, it's obvious that he did push it. Like, I don't think
as obvious as it gets.
And obviously, Seattle benefits from that. They benefited from a couple of calls, but I still think it's a stupid rule. If it would have gotten called, I feel like a lot of people would have been up in arms, like wondering why.
Seattle fans would have been up in arms.
I think I would have been like, "What the hell? That's a stupid rule." I know I would have.
I would have. It might have been a stupid rule, but it's still a rule.
Right, but
it should have been enforced properly.
It's like the completion of the catch rule, though, right? Yeah, so like Calvin Johnson. It's like, I get that it's a rule. It doesn't make it any less dumb. I mean, it's still a really dumb rule. And they got to figure out a way to fix both of those calls then, especially the catch one, getting off guard there. But I don't know what a catch is and isn't sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the catch one is still interesting. I mean, everyone knows he snaked it. It's just when he went to the ground, the ball moved, which I guess means it's not a catch.
Cool. So that's a review so far, through what happened this week 4. So we can look ahead a little bit to week 5. What do you got as probably some important matchups for this week?
Well, obviously, I mean, my Packers are undefeated. Um, I'm glad the game's at Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers is super good at Lambeau. There's something to watch right there. See, is if Aaron Rodgers that's one nice thing. He's gonna force that defensive line to be disciplined, and if they jump off sides, just gonna be free plays.
That's true. That is true. We talked about it a little bit off air. Those ends, obviously, their whole fucking defensive line is really good.
Probably, can we just say they're probably the best defensive line in football, right?
I mean, they've got
probably better.
They've got probably the best 4-3 defensive tackle in football currently. I know he's taking
as a line in a whole. I don't know who's better.
Robert Quinn, Chris Matthew, Michael Brockers, Nick Fairley.
That's tough, man. That's
tough. So what's nice about Green Bay, obviously, is they're pretty good up front on the line, at least in the middle. But man, those tackles are it's gonna be a rough week. But like you said, if they rush up the field too far, if that offensive front three, those three guys that are guard to guard, can keep the defensive tackles at bay a little bit, it'll still give Aaron Rodgers a decent pocket to either step up if he has to. Just tell the tackles to let those speed guys kind of go around you. But that'll be a tough one. Thankfully, I don't think too highly of the Rams offense, though, like we mentioned.
Tavon Austin?
I mean, whoo. Gurley's back, though, and I know the run defense the last couple weeks has been all right, but that first week with Matt Forte or whatever it was not pretty, and I'm always scared that at some point this season we're just going to get gashed for a bunch of yards again.
It's true. The run defense has looked a lot better. I mean, it probably won't be an easy game, but I mean that's probably the best defensive line I think the Packers will face in football. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a test. And another reason I'm worried is because historically the Packers do struggle when teams can just rush four and get pressure on Aaron. When teams don't have to. I felt like in watching the 49ers game, I know Aaron didn't have his best game, but there were a couple of times where San Francisco blitzed, and blitzing Aaron Rodgers just is not a good idea.
Yeah, he does a really good job, of escaping if he has to and buying time, which then means your guys have to cover, and they're not as much help when you blitz, and he's really good. Or getting it quick. I remember, at least back in the day, like the seam routes, just getting the snap, finding where that blitz came from, just throwing a seam was beautiful every single time. The Super Bowl is like what I think of in my head when I think of stuff like that. Another, I think, important game for both teams would be Seattle and Cincinnati. Cincinnati obviously is 4-0. They got a pretty decent lead already, 2 games up on the rest of that division. But Seattle can't really afford to lose this game and potentially fall, 2 games behind with against the Cardinals. And if the Rams somehow pull an upset, they'll still be in 3rd place then. Who do you think wins that game? I know we've got a pick 'em thing, but how do you view that game as playing out?
I really think, since he's playing some good football right now.
Good Andy Dalton.
The thing about the Seahawks that worry me is, one, it's in Cincy. 2, I don't think the Lions are that good of a team. And granted, it's a football game. Like, obviously things happen. But I just really think, a red hot Cincy team like that, in Cincinnati, I don't know. I don't think that the Seahawks played their best game against the Lions, obviously. I think they're capable of playing a lot better. But honestly, this season, I feel like they really haven't played great as a whole.
Is Marshawn Lynch going to play this week?
No, I don't think so. The thing that I read last week anyway was saying that he could miss a couple weeks. So maybe that's changed, but that was what I saw last week.
And that's rough too, because obviously the team likes that Rawls enough that he's getting the snaps over Fred Jackson. But at the same time, you look at his production last week, and it was like, yep, that's definitely not a Marshawn Lynch type game. Offensive line is still shit, though, and they're giving up a ton of pressure, and they're also not run blocking. So I don't know if that really makes a difference. I think this might be the week that we get bad Andy. and that's going to keep it at least close. I don't think that he's going to be able to sustain this forever. This is the second best.
He's an Andy Dalton, though. There's a difference.
It is regular season Andy, but this is still like the second best or perhaps the best he's ever played over like a 4-game stretch in any point in his career. So how long can he keep playing like that, at that high level? Maybe he's finally taking that step, when you're – God, what year are we in for this kid? Like 5, 6 years in?
Same amount as Kaepernick.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that's 5 because that was the year.
Same amount as Cam Newton, too, actually. They're all in the same class.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe he's finally turned that corner and he's going to become a more consistent player, but I'm just not buying it. I'm just not buying it yet. He's going to have to, just continue this pace for, the whole season before I buy him.
So, Brett, you're pretty much telling the audience you're picking Seattle.
I already picked it. It's locked and loaded in the pick'em, man. Maybe this is why I'm in 12th place right now.
I'm picking Seattle.
This is why I'm in 12th place right now.
Yeah, speaking of pick'em, we should probably go over that, huh?
Definitely should, yeah. I know I think it was the same 2 people that were in first last week are still in first this week.
Yep. Tsunami and St. Pat's Revenge sitting there with 42 wins or points each. Joe Veek's team and Lars Start the Car are both at 41. And we have Jeremy's terrible picks at 40. Deflate Face and Ryan are also at 40. Then there's me at 39. And then Lisa's and Ray Rice's retirement plan at 37 and 36. Brett, you fell out of the top 10.
It was another bad week. I alternate my weeks. Week 1, my odd-numbered weeks are good weeks, and the even-numbered weeks are bad weeks. I'm thinking that means you guys should all pick Seattle because it being an odd week means I'm likely going to be correct.
It could. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make that pick.
Yo, in that car ride, on your way home from after you come down to visit, you're going to have that Seattle game on in the car, and you're going to say, God damn it, Brett was right. It's going to happen. Actually, you'll be listening to Green Bay's game at that time. You won't even know.
It's true. I will be probably listening to the Packer game at that time. Oh, and that's the other thing. It's a noon game. Oh, now
West Coast team
tired.
I got to wake up early. It'll be like a 9 o'clock game or 10 o'clock game.
But yeah, I think that's all we got for this week. So next week we'll go over what happens in week 5, and hopefully I can maybe make up some ground. These people that are in front of me on the pick'em keep also getting picks right, so I'm not making any ground up.
We're just gonna have to lock them out of their accounts. So they can't make picks for a week, All right, guys. Thank you for tuning into this week's edition. We'll see you next week.